Hey, 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 you guys. Welcome back to the Socially Awesome channel. Alyece Smith here. And I'm so excited today to bring a special guest to you. I can't even express to you how excited I am about this episode because if you've listened to any of my episodes, if you've been on the podcast or you're brand new, branding is a huge piece in your business. Okay. Huge. And we talk a lot about this in entrepreneurship, especially in the online world, the online space. You got to set yourself apart, and your brand is what does that. That is the magic, right? You want to be in a category of one. And so I have got an amazing guest today that is going to talk to you. He's got over 14 years of experience, and I want you to hear it from him, not just from me, about, how to separate yourself, how to build that personal brand, how to put yourself in that category of one. And I cannot wait to get all of his expertise into this episode today. So I am going to introduce you. I'm going to turn it over. We've got Philip Phenom with us. Welcome, Philip, to the podcast today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy Tuesday. I can't wait to dive into the subject of branding and just, I don't know, any other side conversations we end up having during this show.
It's already been, Philip and I, you guys have had 10 side conversations before we even press the record button. And I love his energy. I love his vibe. Just some of the things he's already told me about, you being a professor and all of, I'm already amazed. So I want to just dive right in. I know that you are here today to give my audience a perspective on building their personal brand to attract opportunities, because ultimately, we start our businesses for serving others. We start our business to impact people. But ultimately, if you're doing it right and you really are building that brand, so many opportunities can come your way, ones that you might not even expect. So not only your business, but other opportunities like speaking and books and all of those other things. So let's just start with, tell me your background, because I know I heard a little bit about it, over a decade of experience here. Tell me a little bit about how you got into this, how, your brand started, and let's go from there.
I got you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to clarify something. I'm going to circle back to it. It's going to all make sense. So I'm actually glad that you said what you said, but I'm not a professor. I am a college instructor. No. It's fine. People get it confused all the time, but I'm going to circle back to why I'm glad that you said that and why it's important to the everything about branding. To give y'all a little quick background myself, I started my career at 14 years old. I'm 28 right now. I know, crazy, right? But I wasn't at Chick-fil-A at 14. I wasn't like the typical 14-year-old working at Chick-fil-A at 14 and a half. So I started in television at 14. That's why I started working in TV. There was an opportunity for me to work with the minor league baseball team. Their entire production crew is ran by high schoolers. And so I was not interested in baseball. I was not interested in production. I wanted to be an engineer. But they said, you know what? If you come spend the summers with us, we'll feed you every single game. I said, I don't care nothing about anything else you're talking about but food right now. So you know what, Ken? I'm down. I ended up interviewing. I love Ken to death. He's Ken Bland. He's the one that runs the program here locally. So through that, I ended up discovering my passion for production and storytelling. And so I ended up changing my career completely while I was in high school, because I went to an early college. So I got a chance to start taking my college classes while I was in high school. So I threw engineering to the side and then focused on that. Ended up working a lot with a local news station here, one of the top news stations actually in the state of North Carolina. And from there, while I was in college, I was doing that, running track, cross country, and then ended up getting an internship for the news station. And then also as soon as I graduated, ended up doing everything around a minor league baseball team that was like 45 minutes away. Now, to bridge the gap of branding within all of this, while I was in college, I was presented with an opportunity to become an ESPN Plus producer for my university, because ESPN Plus was just now starting to stream with different universities nationwide. And so they were coming to my conference. And because of my experience and the way that I spoke about myself, presented myself on social media around campus, they knew that they wanted to come to me first when it came to this opportunity to produce the shows for ESPN Plus for my university. I said, of course, why not? I applied for ESPN about 5-6 times, an internship when I was graduating. I got rejected every single time. So I was like, well, this is my end, right? Not every single closed door is the end of a journey. It's just a pivot. Did that for about 6 years. This is the first year I actually have not done that. Continue to do some stuff with the minor league baseball team. That was a 45-minute drive. I was doing a lot of their marketing, actually. And then I was also still with the news station. So between all of that, I was working about 13 to 15-hour days, sleeping in the closet sometimes at work, unfortunately falling asleep while driving. And one day I was just having like an anxiety attack at work. And I was like, you know what, this has to change. So I dove into marketing more because I wanted to learn how to make money online, how to make money remotely. And I started my own drop shipping store, selling bow ties. A lot better looking than this. I'm selling bow ties and bracelets. And so through that, I had to understand branding more because the way that people are able to buy your product is through trust, right? And the way you trust a company is through branding, because just because you see something one time doesn't mean that they're going to make a purchase, right? So they have to see it bare minimum 7 times nowadays. And I think that number has definitely increased. It used to be about 5 to 7 times people would say back then. So I learned more about personal branding. I dove into marketing. I didn't go to school for any of this. I was self-taught. I was reading all the books that you see behind me and then some. I was going out into the field, just testing stuff. I was posting more things on social media. I was networking. So skip a little how all this is still relating to branding. I was out in public, repping my own brand, being myself, my natural, energy, charisma, and I ended up meeting a leader that worked for Apple, right? He was like, man, what are you doing? I'm telling him everything I'm doing with the entrepreneurship, my bow ties and all that stuff. He was like, you want to come work for Apple? I said, I ain't never thought about working for Apple because I have an Android. But you know what, Curtis? I'm down with it. You see, I'm just taking opportunities that have nothing to do with me. Listen, that you got to do that. So ended up working for Apple. I loved it. Met so many people working there, so many individuals. I feel like I was one of the very few people that stepped into my Apple interview and put my Android Pixel phone on the on the table and still got it. So fast forward, I continue everything I'm doing outside of everything from Apple around branding and marketing. I'm still growing my own things on the side, still diving deep into it. I'm learning more about how I want to give back to other people. So I ended up writing my first book around Phenom. So Phenom is actually an acronym that stands for Preparation, Hustle, Education, Network, Overcome, and Mentorship. Wrote that first book, ended up writing a second book, started a podcast. That podcast ended up becoming top 10% globally according to Listen Notes. Ended up starting a second podcast that I have now, all around success, all around personal development. And I'm talking about all of this stuff whenever I'm going to events, social media, and so on and so on. So fast forward to what you were saying, college professor. So eventually, I'm also branding myself on LinkedIn, right? And so somebody approached me on LinkedIn. They were like, hey, we see everything that you're doing. We see that you're very versed in marketing. We see that you also know XYZ about branding. We see that you also speak because we got a chance to listen to your podcast because I had it on my platform. Would you be interested in being a college instructor? I said, I ain't never thought about this before, but hey, I'm going to go for it, right? I'm going to go for it. The opportunities continue to attract to me because of the way I put myself out there. So I don't have a PhD. I didn't plan on it, but I am a college instructor. There are about 50 to 60 universities that I teach. I have a melting pot of students at any given time. I just finished teaching about 300 students this past term. And I'm very proud of the work that I do as a college instructor. A lot of my students end up getting jobs, internships while we're there. A lot of them, I'm grateful to say that they said that I'm one of their favorite instructors they've ever had and changed their experience. And all of these opportunities, college instructor, working for Apple, ESPN Plus producer, speaking engagements, being able to book certain podcast guests is all because of branding. So I want everyone to understand the biggest thing is as you brand yourself, it's not about growing your business, it's growing you as a person because you never know what opportunity may come to you. But I know that was long, but we're going to talk so much and dive into it more. But that's a little bit about me, about how I got started in this journey.
So worth it. So first question,
all right.
Are you an Apple now? Because if not, we can't be friends.
What's the question?
Are you an Apple user now? Because if not, we can't be friends.
Now, what if I said there's an iPhone here, but there's also an Android? Can we work that up? All right.
Work with that. No, seriously though, so many golden nuggets that I could pull out of your story that just really not only are inspiring to show life threw you a lot of different, a lot of opportunities, curveballs even maybe. And each one of them, you not only like you said, happened because of that personal brand. But you took them and said, okay, I can do this. Okay, I can do this, right? So like, you're like, I'm gonna put that Android down for a second and like Apple, but yes, this is an opportunity. So what I got most out of your story as a whole is that I didn't hear fear almost anywhere in there.
We
And
can
I'm
dive
sure you
into that.
but like I'm sure as a young child it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to figure this out, right? But I didn't hear that. And looking back, how do you feel? Like, were you afraid? Because there was, like you said, I mean, you were like, hey, you gonna feed me? I'm coming. Okay, next I'm gonna go to the Apple man. Like, I mean, it just kept
Yeah.
molding. First of all, 28, you make me feel super old. But like, what about let's dive into the fear before we get into the actual tech stuff when it comes to branding, because I love everything you shared with us. But was there any point that you had any kind of doubt?
Always. I always have doubt. Some sort of doubt, I should say. I always have some sort of fear. I will say this though. The fear isn't present when the opportunity gets presented originally. So everything around, hey, I'm stepping into a TV studio for the first time. Or the idea of it, the idea of stepping into a TV studio, I wasn't fearful. The idea of working for Apple, I wasn't fearful. The idea of starting speaking, I wasn't fearful. Teaching the students, I wasn't fearful. It wasn't until I had to face the music of doing whatever that action was, of actually doing something on live television where there are, 10,000 people watching nationwide. Me stepping on the stage for the first time, which was a TEDx talk, mind you, and I'm sitting in the hallway, curled up in the ball, basically got sweats because I'm so scared because I've never spoken in front of a group, and it's a TEDx. Me speaking in front of 100 students, even though it was virtually, be like, man, they have all these other professors with a PhD, then it's just me. Like, there was imposter syndrome in some of these journeys. Like you said, there was fear. But one thing I always remind myself that if I'm in the room for something, I deserve to be there. Nobody would have put me in that space if they didn't think that I can go above and beyond for whatever that task is.
Quote of the episode right there. You didn't write that down. You are missing it. That is gold, Philip. That is gold.
Thank you.
So I want to dive into some tactical. I'm very tactical.
I
I will
love it.
tell you that. I'm not a conceptual person. I don't understand concepts, to be honest. I'm like, just tell me what to do. I want to get it done. Well, I know my audience is very much the same. So I just want to spend a little time with you today digging into not only what is a personal brand, because again, if an entrepreneur is brand new, then their mindset a lot of times is, I just got to sell this thing. And honestly, in my opinion, you really need to sell yourself, right? Because there's 1,000 other people out there selling your thing. So when you're focusing on your brand, you're building that trust and you're building that authority and that expertise, which allowed you to be in those rooms and will open those opportunities to be in those rooms. So let's start with the very basics. If I was a brand new entrepreneur just started yesterday, I'm like, all right, my job, I'm going to go all in on this business. How would you define to them what is a personal brand?
I got you.
Loaded question.
No, it's fine. I actually want to touch on something that you said real quick before I even dive into that. I had to Google it because I don't commit numbers to memory. But according to recent studies, around 77% consumers are more likely to purchase from a brand if the founder or the face behind it has a strong personal brand. So if you
100%.
are a founder, if you have a business, you should be intentionally, I'm going to get to that in a second, be growing your personal brand because people are more likely to trust you. I mean, buy your product when they trust you. So to get into what is a personal brand, every last one of us has a personal brand. I have a personal brand. You have a personal brand. Everyone listening to this right now has a personal brand. Your personal brand is not your business. It is you. That's why it's personal, right? It is the perception or the idea that someone has about you whenever they think about you. So someone's like, hey, Alyece, Phenom. They're like, yeah, I know her. I know him. She's amazing. She's energetic. She's bubbly. She's hardworking. She's an amazing mom. That's your brand to those people, right? But then on the flip side, they're like, yeah, man, Phenom's always late. He can never get his stuff together. He's scattered all the time. I just can't keep. That's my personal brand for them. And so the way that someone thinks about you initially is your personal brand. And so I always encourage everyone to do a personal brand audit. And that's simply just reaching out to about 30 people, acquaintances. And we're talking about, tactical things. I got you. So reach out to 30 people between family members, friends, and acquaintances. You want that diverse group because you want people who you barely talk to, people that you talk to let's just say every week, every other week. And you want people that maybe are growing up with you, your family, but maybe you don't talk to them that much, but they maybe see different sides of you. Just send them a quick question like, hey, I'm working on my personal brand. I want to be more intentional with it. Whenever you think about me, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? You're going to get two different type of answers. You're going to get people that give you titles. You're going to get people that give you character traits. There's nothing wrong with either one. It's good to know both sides. You're going to get people to say, like, yeah, podcast host, mother, teacher, instructor, right? The titles of what you are or what you do. Then on the other side, you may get funny, energetic, loving. So it's good for you to understand both of those sides. But that's what, in short, a personal brand is, the perception that people have about you.
I love it. It's gold. And I say this a lot in my content, but it's not about what you say. It's about how you make people feel when you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of what I'm hearing from you too, is how are people perceiving you as a person? How do you make them feel and around you? And we know that your network is your network. So it's really important for you to build that personal brand so that you get invited into those rooms, so that you get placed in those opportunities. So love it. Now let's talk about, again, tactics. I'm like, you know me, I was in Instagram and I'm like, all right, Philip, what? He's like, hello, happy Friday. Yeah, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I'm like, yeah, I'm rude. I'm so sorry. Like, give me the gritty. I want to do it. And again, that's my personal brand. People that me know Alyece is, there ain't no filter. It goes out, because I love everything that we just absorbed. And I think that a lot of online entrepreneurs, because majority of my audience particularly is online entrepreneurs, very few of them have brick and mortar. And I know you've done a lot in the news stage, in the media, in the physical, but often have people that talk about branding as if it's just your Canva graphics or it's just your colors, your fonts. It is so much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So you dive into that with me, as far as, obviously, the physical of your branding is important, the way you want to be perceived. We could probably go on for hours about, color psychology and all that stuff. Let's not. Let's talk though about, for those people that think that branding is just your colors and your fonts, can we elaborate a little bit more on how those connect and how, your brand voice and, like you said, how you're perceived is so much more.
Right. Oh, the colors that you have is just a small piece of the pie, truly. I'll even bring this podcast up, for example. Nobody is able to see you and I. They don't know what I look like. They don't know what I'm wearing. And same goes for you. They can't see my background. They can't see your background. But you hear my voice. You hear the tone of my voice, my speech, through the rate of my speech, energy, all that type of stuff. This is going to make you feel a certain way, right? When you listen to it, whether you feel informed, whether you feel empowered, whether you feel seen, loved, heard, list goes on. On social media, you want to think about that, because if you don't have color scheme branding, what about your content is going to make people feel a certain way? And growing up, none of us had our own brands. We didn't have our own business, right? We wore other people's brands. So people don't really pay attention in the beginning to stuff like that, right? I may come suited and booted with a tie. You may ask me where I got it from, but you don't think twice about it. But the way that our conversation goes, I make you feel, goes a little further. So when you're branding yourself on social media, long term, yes, you do want to have your colors, your brand, your logos, all things like that, because people will constantly connect you to that logo and your brand, what you do, and even the colors. If you have a very specific color, you have like purple or something like that, and maybe you don't see purple out in the wild. It's like, yeah, I think about so and so, right? That comes later. But in the beginning, you just need to ask yourself, how are you gonna make somebody feel? Because as you said earlier, you sometimes forget what people say, but you remember how they made you feel. And every single time that I go to your page or I go to my page, I feel empowered. That is what's going to carry me on long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So you guys, if you did not get it out of what Philip just said, stop spending so much damn time in Canva and start working on how you speak and what you say and how it makes people feel. Is this fun? Okay. Yes, branding's important, and there's a lot of different things you can outsource graphics, because like nobody's born to be a graphic like that. And we'll get to the outsourcing and how you can hire people to do that a little further in the episode. But ultimately, your brand is, again, exactly, do that audit, right? Because it really is people feel. So love that.
And to
Yeah.
go, I don't want to say deeper. Remember how I said earlier, when you do that brand audit and you're reaching out to those 30 people, you're going to get two things. You're going to get the titles and you're going to get the character traits. Part of those character traits is going to be how, you make people feel. Like if someone says like, oh, you make me feel energized, you make me feel educated, or you make me feel informed about certain subjects, and that's what they think about you, that should be seen in your content. Notice I didn't say people are going to be, when you reach out to them, they're not going to say, oh yeah, I think about your blue and yellow logo or your blue and yellow colors or anything like that. They're not going to say that. They're going to talk about your character traits, probably how you make people feel, and your title about what you do.
Yeah. Agreed. 1,000%. So I was peeking on your website and I'm about to connect some dots here. So you wrote a book. Your second one's a wait list right now, right? Am I right about that? You've got a second one coming out? What? I swear you told me second. Well, hold up. Y'all better go get all of Philip's books. But the one that I want to talk about, because I love it, Ignore the Fluff. Okay. Right? Did I say that right, at least?
You got it.
Kick mode loading. All right, cool. So the reason I want to talk about that is because part of my personal brand and part of what I hope my audience sees in my content is there's no BS here, right? I thrive on transparency because that's what I expect. That's what I want. I am very much that person that will support a company just because of the founder. I don't even care what they're selling.
Oh, that's at 77% right there.
Amen. Person, right? And I will cancel, if we could say, certain brands that I don't align with, and I will say I am no longer supporting that brand. I mean, me, that's who I am. But the reason I want to talk about this is because I want to know a little bit more about what you mean, and make sure you guys, grab that book. I will definitely put that in the show notes for you. I am going to get a copy as soon as this is over. But explain to me, what do you mean by Ignore the Fluff? Because just from the title, and I could be totally wrong, and you could totally chew me up, spit me out after this. I to read it to see if I'm right. But just the title alone, I perceive that it really is be you, be that brand, own that brand. Like, ignore the fluff and tell your story and share your story's valuable. Like I'm getting a lot of things just from this one line. Give me some backstory on that. What do you mean by ignore the fluff?
It has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that. So wrong. I can't wait to read it now. Again, I mean, don't judge a book by its cover kind of thing. Right? And I just did, and I was wrong. So give me background.
I got you.
By
I'm only going to give you a little bit, and you're going to understand why. So the book is around, well, let me back up. This may come off wrong or sound bad, but I'm an executioner in the way that I have an idea and I get stuff done.
Love it.
Right. So that's how I've been able to accomplish so many things over, this 14-year spans, because I don't try to get all the information, right? I don't need 100% confirmation. I don't need to be 100% informed about something before I actually take action.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't get enough. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, okay, I got 50%. I'm good. I need to be around the 65, 70% before I move forward. But, a lot of people get stuck in that stage. analysis paralysis, or they are stuck in the cycle of perfectionism and they don't get anything accomplished. So what the book is talking about is how to narrow down all of that for you to ignore the extra information, the fluff, right? For you to be able to execute on certain things. So within the book, the ebook, there's a test. And if you pass the test, you're good to go. I have full faith in you. But if you fail the test, you got some stuff to work on.
I'm an A++ student, so you just wait. I can't wait. Let me ask you about that because that still applies to what we're talking about today, right? Because if you would have waited, had a meeting to have a meeting to have a meeting about all of these opportunities that came your way, that one would have gotten done.
Exactly.
The same thing goes with your personal brand. If you're waiting to show up on social media or waiting to show up in your business or waiting to share your story or find opportunities or receive opportunities until you have everything perfect or everything aligned or the perfectly polished logo or whatever other things you're thinking you need, you're letting these opportunities just go out the window. So I do love that I asked that. So back to the tactical stuff. So
before we get to the tactical stuff, can I tell you something that goes along with it that I heard that I think your audience will love? I had someone tell me one time, when you keep yourself in that waiting stage or cycle, when you're delaying your business, you're delaying your brand, when you're delaying your artistry, you are just taking away opportunity from someone else that needs you.
I love that. I love that. And when you are so rooted in serving, you will be 1,000 times more confident in your brand. I wholeheartedly believe that. When you know who you're meant to serve, how you're meant to serve them, how they perceive you, and why you are the only one to serve, I feel you're 1,000% more confident showing up.
Exactly.
But I love that you said, sometimes you only have 50%, because that is something I often tell my students in my programs is you don't need to know how. You need to know why. Why are you doing this and who are you doing it for? The how comes later. You can figure all of that out. We talked about what is a personal brand. We talked about a little bit of a misbelief people have. Tell me, because I ultimately want to get to how this opens doors for opportunities. We heard your story, so we know it's possible. But if you were telling someone today, do these 3 things. First would be do that brand audit. Okay, y'all already got action item number 1. But if you were to give people, action items of like, here's the top 3 things you need to do to start really living in your personal brand, really building it out, what would you tell them? Because I know a lot of people, like you said, everyone has a personal brand. But if they know how to surround themselves with it, if they know how to be comfortable with it, to show up the way they should be showing up, what would you tell them? What could they execute immediately?
So the first thing is, like you said, the brand audit. Simple. Probably it's going to take you no more than 15 minutes to copy and paste that text to about 30 people. You can do more, of course. The second thing is figure out what your core values are. Go on Google, type in a list of what are 100 different core values. Ask it to ChatGPT. It doesn't really matter where you get the list from. Get that list. Start off with 15, narrow down to 5, narrow down to about 3. That's what you really want to end up with, about 3 different core values, right? What business do you stand on at the end of the day, right? So figure that out. Once you have your 3 core values, you're going to write, and this is the third thing, you're going to write your personal mission statement, not your business mission statement, but your personal mission statement. Because at the end of the day, again, your personal brand is what allows you to grow in any and everything that you do in life, whether you decide to be within corporate, whether decide you want to be an entrepreneur, that personal brand is going to guide you to all opportunities. So, prime example, and you let me know if you think that this personal mission statement that I wrote 7 years ago aligned before I knew any of this. Well, some of it, but before I knew any of this, aligns with everything I told you so far. When I first started being more intentional, I wrote this down. My mission is to prepare the mindset, the community around me through education, dedication, and a self-disciplined work ethic. That was before I knew or I thought about writing any books. I'm not even a good writer. I'm a good storyteller. I'll send it to somebody else to
Copyrighted.
spruce it up. Exactly. Before I thought about podcasting, before I thought about being an educator, being a college instructor, before I became a success coach for a nonprofit, helping young Black males get jobs, before I even fathomed the thought of any of that, I wrote that personal mission statement down. And by writing that down, it keeps me on track and aligned for opportunities that blow my way in any shape or form.
Yes.
So we're speaking. I'm on the stage. Cool. What type of conference am I speaking at? Does it align with this mission statement? You want me to teach? What am I teaching? Is it going to align with this mission statement? Right. So that simple personal mission statement can carry you for the rest of your life. I could be 65 years old, still leading by that one statement right there. But as I get older and mature, obviously the things I'm going to do are different, but I can still work within that scope and that capacity. Those are the three things.
I love it because I often say, I mean, you were speaking, I like we're best friends. We don't even know it yet. Out during this episode, but
I'm going to have to catch a flight to Mississippi.
Gosh, come
Never been.
Beach is no bueno here, but I can meet you in New Orleans.
But have fun with that too.
Yeah. Ultimately, like, these are things, and I say them differently than you, but like, I talk a lot to my students about, when you have clarity, you have confidence in who you are, what your transformation you're providing to your clients is, who you serve, and it becomes so much easier for you to drown out the noise, right? And maybe ignore the fluff. But it becomes so much easier for you to say, opportunities come your way, or shiny object syndrome, or imposter syndrome, or whatever we want to call it. But it's very easy for me to say that does not align with my values. And from me. Or it's very easy for me to say that is not going to get me to my 2025 goals. So it's not important. And so it's so easy for me because I am also an executioner, sorry. I call it hyper attentive. Okay. I have a different terminology. I am hyper attentive. Like, if it doesn't align with my goals, it's done. But for me, I love that because you actually rooted it back to your personal brand. And I have been telling people for so long, rooting it back to your business. But I love that it's rooted to your personal brand because your business can change. You as a person will evolve as well.
Exactly.
But I might a year from now decide I'm going to burn this business down and go do something else. But me as a person, my internal values are more than likely the same.
Exactly.
And they will. So I just had this massive light bulb moment. I love it. All right. So as we kind of dwindle down a little bit, a couple more things I want to chat with you about. So
let's get it.
You tell me a little bit about what, Phenom actually, what if someone said, okay, I'm vibing with Philip. I like him. I want help with my brand because I know I want these opportunities to come my way. What services do you provide? What transformation do you provide to your students, your clients?
Yeah, of course. So I have a creative agency. I'm a co-founder of it. Productionphenoms.com is the website. Send it to you so it can be in show notes.
Yeah.
So we focus on two things, with three things. Brand strategy. That's my specialty, is brand strategy. My co-founder is A1 marketer. I've done a lot of things with Vistaprint, Red Hat, just two large companies that some people may be familiar with. And then, so you're going to get the brand strategy and marketing strategy from both of us. Then on the flip side, we also help you with the boring tasks that a lot of people may not enjoy doing, and that's the editing. So I have extensive experience within editing, like video editing, podcast editing, because I've done all my video editing for the last 14 years, ever since I started in television. That was my baby when I first started. And then also podcast editing. I've been in this space for about 4 years now. And then we also have a team that helps us out with other tasks like graphic design. Give us your logo, give us your typography, and we'll work on your designs for you. So you can just maybe have a template that you just copy and paste and, put the updated stuff in there. The copywriting, that was something, again, I learned I needed help on. I can sit here and tell you an A1 story all day, but I need someone to work on my copy for me. So we have a team that also helps with that. So that's what we're helping our clients with right now, the brand strategy, the marketing, on a monthly basis, but also helping you get more time back from the editing so you can focus on the business and stuff, which should be the most important thing to an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Spending your time in the zone of genius. Right.
Exactly.
And no pressure on me to get this podcast episode edited properly. But ultimately, that is one thing that holds entrepreneurs and businesses and brands back as a whole. The mundane stuff that they're like, I don't know how to figure this out, so I'm just not going to do it. Outsource it. Okay. Let someone that's an expert handle it so you can focus on your zone of genius.
Exactly.
And I absolutely love that. So, of course, in the show notes, I will have all your books listed.
Hey, what?
And
can't forget about the motivational albums either.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
I got it on there. But ultimately, I want my audience to connect with you. I want them to learn from you, because let me throw in a little side tip here, you guys, or side note. So I had made a post on Threads that was like, hey, I am looking for experts, to bring on my podcast. And I had people apply. Phenom here throws up this flyer that was like a party I had to be at. Like, I'm like, okay. So, most people are like, oh, I do this, and it's a little sentence. And I'm like, cool. Okay. Apply here. I mean, a lot of them could be total experts. The branding on the flyer, I was like, okay, he's on. I don't even need his application. Like, whatever. But no,
That's hilarious.
I say that because I share that because, one, I was like, holy smokes. Two, there was a whole lot of other people in my comments that were like, oh, this is freaking awesome. But three, you are living exactly what you're teaching. And I applaud you for that, because that flyer showed that personal brand, and that's all I needed to see to
you
say,
know what's crazy? My team did that flyer. I didn't even do that myself. My team did it within the creative agency. So if you like that, people like the work.
Right. And that's another piece of living out that personal brand too. That is so important. And we didn't even dive into that today. I could have a whole other episode about how, you could be saying one thing on social media, but if your personal brand's vibing another, there's a trust loss from your audience. And that's why you need to do that brand. Ultimately, as we wrap this up, you have an ebook and you have a 2-week free trial for my to be able to work with you, right?
So the ebook was actually Ignore the Fluff. So I was surprised that you brought that up. So
I love it.
So I'm gonna send you the ebook for Ignore the Fluff. I can't wait to see whether or not, people pass the test. I'll be looking forward to that. Yes. So if you do feel as if you need some help, some weight lifted off of your shoulders, you're trying to spend some more time with your kids, trying to spend some more time in your business, or maybe you just want some more sleep as a business owner. I don't know what you got going on, but we're here to help you out. We're here to help you with your brand strategy, your marketing strategy, and then, of course, outsourcing those tasks that you don't want to do so you can get back to what's most important to you, whether that's, your family, your kids, yourself, sleep, whatever it is. So we're here for that.
I love it. So definitely check out the show notes. We will have the link to grab that free ebook in there. And then, of course, you get that 2-week free trial working with Philip and his team. And the value, I can only imagine that's in there. I can't wait. I cannot wait to consume it. All right. Last thing.
You're really going to like it, because the way I write my books, I get straight to the point. I don't like to have a 100, 200 page book. I don't like it. I don't have the time for that. So when I write my books, I'm like, and this is what you do. Short story, 2 paragraphs. This is what you do.
Clock suckers. If you are wasting my time, you are a clock sucker. I ain't got time for it. I don't like it. No, I can't wait, because I'm a very black and white person. That's why I say I'm hyper retentive. Like, I'm in it, and I just get to it. But I do want to ask you, because I like to end all of my guest episodes, if you could give one piece of advice, because I already got so much advice out of just your story alone. If you could give one piece of advice to an entrepreneur that is listening to this episode, maybe they're, hee-hawing around in their brand. They're going to do that brand audit because they're going to take action. Really look at how they can seize these opportunities. What would be that piece of advice for them to get these opportunities to come their way or go find them? Like, what would you tell them to do with having all of these opportunities come to receive them?
I'm going to say something that my mentors said a couple years ago.
Yeah.
If they do not know you, they can't flow you. They don't know you, they can't flow you. So what that means is, in terms of personal branding, because he wasn't talking about personal branding, he was more so talking about the marketing side, but they have a great relationship, branding and marketing. If people don't know who you are, how can you expect them to support you? If they don't know what your product is, how do you expect them to buy it? If they can't trust you, if you haven't built that trust with you, they don't know you, that trust, how are they going to flow money into your business? How are they going to flow opportunities to you? If they don't know that they can trust you, how are they going to know what opportunities to flow your way? So when it comes to your personal branding, you need is imperative for you to be consistent. And consistency looks like different for everybody. For some people, it's once a month, once a week, bi-weekly, every day. But you need to be consistent for people to know who you are, for them to trust you, so they can flow opportunities your way, whether that is they are providing to you directly or they are referring somebody or something to you. So they don't know you, they can't flow you.
Gold. And I want to touch on two things you just said. So you said consistency for some people might be once a month, once a week, whatever that looks like. And I just want to remind, this is, me speaking my truth here, but not only consistency in when you show up, but consistency in your messaging and, like you said, your brand. So home, you guys, because if you're showing up as one person one day and one person another day, there's a disconnect, and it's going to take you longer to have those opportunities. So definitely take the action steps we talked about today. Really get super clear on your personal brand and how you can show up 100% authentically. That's why awesome is spelled the way it is, because I'm showing up 100% in my roots and what is my why, my personal brand. Show up as you. Tell your story, share your brand with the world. And if they don't know you,
they can't flow you.
They can't flow you. Okay, I was hoping you'd finish that for me.
Sorry, I was like, okay, she's gonna do it, and then I did. I was like, okay, she threw me the oop.
So, all right, you guys. Well, I had obviously way too much fun on today's episode. But if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the day it dropped, Philip and I will actually be live tomorrow on IG. Let me confirm that time for you. It'll be in the show notes. But we're going to be live on IG tomorrow at 4:30 Central Standard Time. He and I are going to be vibing a little bit more about, not only what's in this episode, but giving you some more actionable steps on how to really use your brand to share your story, share your gifts with the world, seize those opportunities. So connect with us. Make sure that you're hanging out with us on IG tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, the day it dropped, I would, if I were you, definitely get with the show notes so you can have all of his amazing resources. Connect with him on, Threads, IG, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Go find him, follow him, get the ebook so you can get that 2-week free trial. It's definitely something you're going to want to eat up. And anything else you like to share, Philip?
I was going to say the easiest way to find like a lot of my things, and this is something I just built up for my personal brand for a long time. If you just Google Philip Phenom Robinson, you will find a lot of information, a lot of different things that I've done and worked on.
Yeah, I like it. I like to be told what's next. So as always, you guys, if you got any value out of this episode at all, please leave us a review. Shoot Philip a DM wherever on IG. You can Google him. You can find him anywhere. Send him a DM. Let him know what your biggest takeaway from the episode was. Drop me a review. It's the best compliment you can give. It lets me know what you want to hear more of on the podcast. Take a screenshot of you listening to this wherever you are. Throw in your stories, tag him, tag me, let us know. We want to celebrate with you. Yeah. And until next time, make it simple, make it social, make it awesome. I'll see you next Tuesday.